Here's the rocket and the bolt problem. So the rocket's going to start out on the ground here, where y naught equals 0, v naught equals 0. Acceleration of the rocket is what we're trying to find. It goes straight up until a point when the bolt falls off. So at this point in time, which I'm going to call time equals t number 1, and t number 1 is a number that they gave you. All right, it's the number that's written out as a word in the problem with letters. Okay, so y equals y1, v equals v1, t equals t1, and the bolt falls off. Okay, so after that we're interested in the bolt. So the bolt starts out here, this is where it starts, right? And so it starts with a y naught for the bolt equal to the y1 for the rocket, okay? The velocity, the initial velocity of the bolt is equal to this v1 of the rocket. But then we're going to take the bolt's initial time to be 0. All right, so what the bolt is going to do is it's going to continue to go up for a while because its v naught was positive, right? So it's going to go up and then it's going to go all the way down to the ground, right? When it gets to the ground, then this new time here is going to be what I call t number 2. That's the second number they gave you in the problem, the one they wrote out as a number. So you have this number. When it gets to the ground, its height then is going to be 0. So its final height is equal to 0. So we can write the equation of the bolt's motion. It's going to be of the form, because the bolt is in free fall, right? So the equation of the motion is going to be y equals y naught plus v naught t plus 1/2 gt squared. G in this problem is going to be negative because y is equal to 0 on the ground here. So the positive direction is up, g is down, so g is negative. All right, but specifically, y naught for the bolt is y1. So I'm going to write y equals y1. And v naught for the bolt is v1. Right? But we need to figure out what y1 and v1 are, right? Because we don't know these. And so we need to find them, y1 and v1. So I can make a list here, y1 equals and v1 equals. Well, these two came from the motion of the rocket in the first place. So we need to go back and look at the motion of the rocket to find y1 and v1. So the motion of the rocket is not free fall. It has an acceleration a, and in fact that's what we're trying to find. So the general equation for the motion of the rocket is going to be y equals y naught plus v naught t plus 1/2 a t squared, not gt squared, because the rocket is accelerating upwards. Now, we already decided that y naught was going to be 0 and that v naught is 0. So that means the equation of the motion of the rocket is y equals 1/2 a t squared. We are interested in y number 1. Y number 1 is the time when it gets here when t equals t1. So that tells me that y1 equals 1/2 a t1 squared. See that? Right. The other thing we need is v1. Well, the equation for the velocity is of the form v equals v naught plus at. But v naught equals 0. So v equals at for the rocket. And we're talking about time 1 and velocity 1. So v1 is equal to at1. So now, if I take these two things and plug them in where they belong, so if I put this guy in here instead of y1, and this guy in there instead of v1, then I get this. Y equals 1/2 a t1 squared plus at1 t plus 1/2 gt squared. And now we have an equation with nothing in it that we don't know except for time. But the time we are interested in is this one, t2. That's the time we're interested in. And for this time and that time. And at t2, y equals 0. So I'm going to put in y equals 0 and 1/2 a t1 squared plus a t1 times t2, that's the time that goes with y equals 0, plus 1/2 g t2 squared. Now I have an equation that I can solve. It has acceleration in it, which is good. Oh, wait, you know what? I just wrote A and I meant to write G. This is supposed to be a G. It has acceleration in it, and the only other thing it has in it are gravity and the 2 times, and I know the 2 times. So I can go ahead and solve this. You can do the algebra on your own, or you can watch me do it. So I'm just doing algebra. I'm going to move this to the other side, so that becomes minus 1/2 GT2 squared on this side. And on this side I have 2 terms with a in it, so I'm going to factor out the a because I'm trying to get a by itself. So here I have 1/2 t1 squared, and here is t1 t2. So now I'm going to divide both sides by that. So now my final expression for a is minus 1/2 g t2 squared over 1/2 t1 squared plus t1 t2. And I can plug in my numbers.